Welcome to Production Music Live. My name is Guido from Cat and Beats, and together with Production Music Live, we made a tutorial series where we will professionally mix vocals that have been recorded with a cheap mic straight into the computer. First, the file sounds like this.
I will be by your side, never let you go.
And after, the file is going to sound like this.
I will be by your side, never let you go. I will keep you inside through the highs and lows. I will be by your side, never running away. Ain't got nothing to hide, just to breaking away.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, and click the notification bell so you won't miss any of the uploads. Enjoy the session. Alright guys, so let's get the last parts out of the way, and then we have covered all the little aspects I would do for a vocal like this in a track like this. Needless to say, by the way, all vocals are different, so really experiment with the tools we've discussed and the principles that we've spoken about. So let's just get started with these vocals for an EDM track. And the last time you saw the video, if you looked all the way to the end, by the way, congrats if you looked all the way to the end, you saw that I was discussing to use a doubler or a chorus effect. And at the end of the day, I ended up with the chorus effect. I know it wasn't the most pretty effect in comparison to the doubler, because most likely the reference used a doubler. But I used the chorus because it was kind of just masking some imperfections that I was still having, and with the doubler they become too apparent. So yeah, the main thing is try to record vocals like there is absolutely no mixing process whatsoever. So when you're gonna be with your friends and it's like a Friday night and you're hanging out, it's fantastic to create all these things, but then go back the next day when you're all sober, and then have a good listen and a good think, and listen to the reference track, and then say, okay, let's just get those vocal characteristics in as good as we can, and then after that try mixing, because it'll save you a little bit of a headache here and there. So let me just show you my secrets of getting the vocal mix to sit right. So to begin with, it's all about volume automation. So if we just go back to that pre-verse part, we have everything set up here, blah, 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 and the last part is literally this. So I get a vocal writer, which is basically just an automated vocal, what is this called? A slider that is automated according to how loud the vocals are. Now, the way I set this up is I try to find the most ideal part for the vocal to play. So you get to the loudest part of the pre-verse here, and you get to the loudest part, and then you set your sensitivity knob to right there. So for instance, if the loudest part that you have of the track is really the best of the vocal, like it just sounds perfect there, set your sensitivity knob there, and what the vocal writer will do is it will continuously ride the track, so it's going to be around that ideal part. Here, have a look.
Be by your side, never let you go. I will keep you inside through the highs and lows.
So it did that all by himself, and the only thing I had to do is tell him that, the ideal spot is right there, and then you set your sensitivity, and then it'll just do that for you. You can also get yourself a fader and then ride the vocals, which would be the most ideal. Now, regardless of having this incredible plugin, I really, really like it. It is a standard in my vocal chain, if I have a standard vocal chain to begin with, but I still had to use some actual down 2dB, up 2dB utilities. I use these quite a lot. If you've seen the whole mixing course, not a course, I just did a showcase on the Cat and Beats channel when I did the vocal that did it only in Ableton 10. I use these bad boys so much, and it's so nice because when you have, for instance, you're like, oh, it's a little bit too loud, it's a little bit too soft, what you can do is just get something, put it up or down 2dB, take your little what's this thing called, your little pencil, and you just turn it up turn it up, and you can get the whole thing to just sit perfect. So if we just listen to this last phrase.
I will keep you inside through the highs and lows.
And then without it.
I will keep you inside through the highs and lows.
It just doesn't sit right. So that's why I have these little up and down things. Fantastic. Use it if you want to. So that's that. Lots of vocal control, lots of dynamic processing, and I suggest you like spend a good amount of time on the actual automation of the vocal. And all those compressors, they're all adding up to these tiny little tweaks at the end. And with the verse, for instance, and the chorus, I ended up not using these up or down 2dBs or the vocal rider to begin with, because it was just sung quite nice. So that's nice. I'm saying that. Is that true? Second. Yep. See? So only in the pre-verse where I was having the most issues. Now, on top of that, if we now zoom out, so we're going to go into the group itself with the main vocal. Instead of using the doubler, I use the chorus, but also the ozone imager. This is a free plugin, and it just kind of widened up the stereo spectrum. So now we have, in fact, a doubler in a way, because it's an imager. So it's kind of being split up into two, and it's just making everything a little, making the voice sit a little bit nicer in the mix. So let's just go over here.
Be by your side, never running away. Ain't got nothing to hide. Here's to break.
It's just breaking up just ever so slightly. You can do that, by the way, with you put up the width and then you put up the stereo-wise amount. Don't use this too much, because otherwise it'll get that weird chorus effect will be like doubled. Sorry for the pun there with the doubler chorus thing, but it just gets a little bit over the top. So use it wisely. Some people really like to have vocals in the middle of a track, like if we listen to this.
By your side, never running away. Ain't got nothing to hide.
But I like it that it's just panned out a little bit, because most likely most people will listen back to this in a studio environment with two speakers, so it'll pop out when you have that ozone imager. We're not actually increasing the volume, we're just kind of getting it in that stereo space. Let's also have a quick little before on that part, because it's quite funny.
By your side, never run. By your side, never run.
So we really did some work there. Now let's go over to the whole group as a whole now, and we have overall on the backing vocals and the main vocals, we have a little bit of ducking going on when the chorus hits. It's just to create that, like, whoa, it's such a heavy track, you know? So that's the only reason why that's really there. And as you can see, there's a little bit of a side chaining part here as well. And that's only there because there's a sidechain set up by Production Music Live here, but that's actually throughout the whole track. And I don't want the vocals to continuously go like, yeah. I only need it there. So the only reason that's there is to just control the first whoa. That's all it is, but it's, again, lots of volume automation. And even on the total group, I'm using volume automation to let the vocals sit together. Now, speaking of volume automation, we're continuing with that trend, and we have this thing here going to the CLA 76. You see that? So the vocals are going there, the harmonics are going there, and the top end of the bass is going there. Now, why the hell is that all happening? That is happening because I want this CLA 76, a fast compressor, to control the dynamics of the track. So when the singer sings out loud, like, whoa, I want this parallel compressed harmonics compressor to push down so that the vocals really come out, and it just appears as this super dense track. But it's also nice because I have the bass, the harmonies, and the vocals all fighting for each other in one space, and it sounds horrific by itself. But it's making for a hell of a fat track, or a fat sound, a dense sound, when it's in there and when it's off. So let's just turn it on and off. It's kind of in the back, and now it's up front. So it's just this little trick that that is used as parallel compression, and it really, really does a good job. Obviously, there's a volume difference there, but at the same time, you know, you can't really argue with it. It just sounds great to use a harmonic compressor. I mean, there's a compressor on the drums. Why wouldn't you not have a compressor overall to control the volume of all harmonics, right? Now, on top of that, over here in the vocals, the backing vocals, I made an octave here because in the track that the guys sends over, there was actually no chorus here with the whoa. Who says whoa again from back in the day? Anyway, whoa, that guy. I put these 2 octaves in. It sounds horrible by itself, but when you put it back into the mix, it has to build and build and build, right? It's just that extra little edge to make sure that the people that are listening to it get this sense of, whoa. Anyway, so that's there. And then on top of that, I set up a compressor on the master bus. This is, again, all just controlling volume to make this track as dense as possible, and just fatness dense. And I set this compressor up the same way I would set up a snare drum. I know that sounds really, really weird, but I set it up so that I get a really punchy drum sound. So I'm going to just turn off actually, I'm going to just do this for a second. So I set up exactly the same way. I put down the threshold all the way, I put the attack all the way to the left, the release all the way to the left, and I slowly put up the attack until I hear that first punch really pop in. And I put that release up so I can really isolate that first punch. And I do that with only the drums turned on. At least I did that this time. And what happened, to my surprise, was that it really worked. So every single time it's just the drums, which is not that much, but it just kind of makes it pop, and at the same time it makes the vocals really come forward in the mix, and that's kind of what we wanted. So let's have a listen to this compressor turning on and off. Basically, with it turned on, it's just giving that extra little, and when the vocals are in, it's just turning the whole thing down, making the whole whoa more whoa. So that's brilliant. After that, I gave it a really quick little master, and the only thing I did here was EQ the whole track overall. There's a little bit of a bump in the low end because I wanted more low end. A little bit of top end because I wanted more top end, nothing special. A little bit of excitement just to get the track to pop out at you. A little bit of imaging to set it sideways. A little bit of vintage EQ just to bring it up. And then I have a vintage limiter to bring up the track to a respectable -9 LUFS. If you're interested in mastering, by the way, this was just a quick little demo, but if you're interested in mastering, I suggest you check out the course that I did for Production Music Live. So I'm going to be leaving you with this video. This was the last one for the vocal mixing session. I hope you enjoy yourself, and make sure to ask your questions down below. I always answer comments when they're nice and insightful. And yeah, take care. Much love. Have a lovely day. And I'll leave you with a little playthrough of with the limiter on. So adjust your volume.